Hi guys, welcome back to OffBrand with OnBrand. Today we have someone very special to Diane, Sharon Levy, her therapist. And Sharon is a mental health therapist. She's been specializing in eating disorders for the last few years. She works with a lot of people in the Jewish community, and she is Jewish and relatable. So we're so excited to have her on the podcast.
Hi, Sharon. What's up?
Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, guys. This is our first Zoom podcast. Let us know your feedback and thoughts on it. But this guest was very special and it needed to be on Zoom. So here we are. And we're getting right into a very important topic, I think, for me, but really, I want to generalize and say for a lot of people that I know. Sharon's been working with me for the past year and a half on my journey with eating, and I'll get into it. But she has helped me grow so much. I'm still growing, I'm still learning. And I really felt like she would be so valuable to everybody listening. So I think we're gonna get right into it.
I've been working with eating disorders for the last 4 years, and I've been learning a lot and growing so much in this process as well. I think it surprises me regularly to see how many people are dealing with eating disorders of all ages, all genders, right? It doesn't, unfortunately, eating disorders don't discriminate. Like they kind of impact everybody. So I'm located in Lawrence. We have a practice in Lawrence. It's called Embody Recovery. I invite you to kind of explore our website, embodyrecovery.com, but that's an M, the letter M, body, B-O-D-Y, recovery, recovery.com. So feel free to explore there. But, I think that this is a great thing that you guys are doing. It's important and it's impacting a ton of people. And I think often there's a tremendous amount of shame that people feel around this. And so they're hesitant to even talk about it, to acknowledge it, or even to ask for help. So but given the tremendous risks that come along with eating disorders, I think it's important that we do talk about it.
I totally agree. So I guess with that, we're kind of gonna jump right in, right? Okay. So basically, I just have to think how I want to start this whole story. I'm just going to dive into my own personal story. So if you heard it, here's a little bit more clarity on it. And if you didn't, welcome. I would say about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I was not really feeling so well in my body. I had a lot of brain fog. I was very, very, very anxious all the time. And I would say like food was really consuming my every thought. I just had a baby, my second baby, and after I give birth, for some reason, thank you, Hashem, but my body decides that it's ready to just let go, and I am able to lose weight. So I kind of like saw the momentum, and I was like, "Ooh, this is great. I'm going to keep this going." And I was probably the thinnest I ever was, and to me, like I was flying, not thinking about any future consequences, just thinking like how amazing this was that I was the thinnest I ever was. I was buying new clothes and I was just ecstatic. So now, fast forward a few months, I'm still consumed by food every thought because I need to maintain this weight loss now because I don't want to gain any weight. And and I'm anxious, but also like I have two kids and I'm working. So why would I think, like I just think life is, I just am a person with anxiety. So I didn't really think much of it or relate it back. Another very big detail was that I didn't have a period. So after I gave birth to my first son, Eddie, I never really got my period back regular. And I was dieting all those years on and off in between my two kids. And I didn't really care. I was like, rolling, this is great. I don't have a period. It's so annoying anyway. Why do I need one? I'm not trying to get pregnant now anyway. And I asked my doctor if she thought it was a problem. She ran a test. She's like, no, your hormones are normal. Keep living. You're fine. Okay. So now I'm trying to get pregnant with my second kid. I'm like, how am I going to have a baby? I don't have a period. So it's like a little bit different when you're trying to like conceive and try when there's no numbers to go off of, no calendar to go off of. It was very confusing. I had a friend of mine tell me about ovulation strips. Thank God that worked. And, I didn't really have an issue right away. I was able to get pregnant. Thank you, Hashem. Now I give birth. Now I told you I got skinny. Everything's great. So now we're at the point where I have a lot of anxiety. I have brain fog. I'm super skinny, but like everything else in my life is kind of like hitting walls. So I don't have a period. And that I think is something that, I mean, like I hate to be that person, but in a marriage is like shalom bayit is very important for your marriage, and the whole process of shalom bayit I really believe in about like dipping and the mick, and I think like it's just there's a reason for it. Now, like I'm very stressed out and I'm dealing with my kids and my job and my husband, and I'm getting very snappy because I just like have no energy. Like I'm exercising every single day. Even if I'm sick, I exercise. I need to. It's for my mental health. I have all this pent up energy and I'm trying to eat as little as possible. And I'm having my royo beagle and I'm eating egg whites and I'm only focusing on protein and I'm eating. I am not a person who ever starved. I don't know how you do it if you do, but I can't starve. So I just focused on eating nutritionally, like very protein and vegetable oriented foods. Okay. Now I go to the doctor and they test my vitals before they give me a blood test that my doctor asked for. And the heart machine says that my pulse is 35, which if you don't know anything about a pulse, you're supposed to have your heart rate's supposed to be in the 60s, like as a normal baseline. If you're a professional marathon runner, it could go to like the 40s. Anything lower than that is concern. So mine was 35. So now they asked me, do I feel like I'm going to faint? Should we call the Hatzalah? I'm like, no, we're not calling the Hatzalah. I'm perfectly fine. This is how I feel every day. And I also am looking at my watch and I'm like, I'm late to Pilates. Like, I don't have time for this interrogation that they're giving me. I like this, sir, I'm fine. Let me take my blood test and I'm leaving. He goes, okay, but we really recommend that you go see somebody. Okay, no problem. I call my doctor. I'm like, I don't know. I went to go get the blood test you sent me, but they were giving me a very hard time about my heart rate. I don't know what this means. She goes, okay, let me call my cardiologist friend. She calls me back within 40 minutes and she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. I think you need to go get an EKG tomorrow. I'm like, what are you talking about? I don't have time for this. My kids have school, have appointments. Like, are you a mom with a busy life? Like, you understand that there is no time for emergency appointments to the city. I like pushed it a little bit to the next week. I go to the cardiologist and now they start running all kinds of tests on me. They connect me with 100 stickers, little sticky things to my chest. They put me on a treadmill. It was not comfortable to say the least. And this was happening for like weeks on end till they could do every heart monitor test possible to figure out why my heart rate was so low. And I asked the doctor, I said, listen, I don't have a period. Do you think that's related to this whole situation? She's like, no. I'm like, oh, okay. I just wanted to like mention that, put it out there. She's like, how's your eating? I'm like, it's great. I eat, I have protein. I told her all my meals. Great. You're doing great. Okay. We fast forward. We figured it out that the only thing left to do after putting me through, what's it called? A CAT scan, an MRI. They're like, recover your period because it's the only thing that's an outlier right now. That's like a vital sign that's not doing well. So recover your period, and then we'll see if it affects your heart rate and da da da. Okay, now this is the meat of the story. What does recover your period mean? It means that I had to eat in a surplus, as if I was a person who was severely anorexic, to get my hormones to come back again. So now they're telling me, Diane, you need to eat over 2,000 calories a day. I don't want to talk about calories. Everyone's different. But to me, that was the end of the world because I was very focused on keeping my calories as low as possible, exercising. So it's like, imagine somebody trying to push you off a cliff and you're like, no, I'm not going. Like, I'm not doing that. I refuse. There's no way in which I'm going to get fat now. Like, eat intentionally. Could you, like, what would you do? But when people put these things into perspective, at this point, I had two babies, and they're telling me, okay, Diane, you don't want to do the eating thing and you don't want to recover your period. Get it? You're at risk of having a heart attack, and God knows what else. I need to be there for my kids. So now I'm like, am I going to really be that selfish? Like, oh, and I had to stop exercising in this whole process. So overeat and stop exercising. This was to me the end of my universe. I decided to make the decision that it just wasn't worth what I was going to lose if I didn't get myself recovered and fix my heart problem and fix my period and all of these things. So that was like really very, very scary for me. But I'm like, okay, I'm going to commit. I'm going to do it. I had to go to a nutritionist. I started seeing Sharon for my mental health because I was clearly spiraling. I couldn't get out of bed. It was somebody telling me that I had to sit there and have mounds of peanut butter or, like up my calories drastically when I'm like, bread? Like I wasn't eating bread. She goes, you need to wake up, have a full breakfast the minute you wake up. Because if your hormones don't have a breakfast the minute you wake up, then they're going to be like you're starving again. Then have a snack 2 hours later. I go, but lady, I'm not hungry for a snack 2 hours later. Thank you, Hashem. I'm a good listener and I love food. So ultimately, once I joined the bandwagon, I was able to gain the weight relatively easily because I was just, listening to instructions and eating. And it took me a month. It takes people, some people like really, it could take them up to a year. It could take them more than a year. And Sharon, you know this better than me.
Mhm. I mean, it really does vary, but oftentimes people do recover relatively quickly as long as their nutrition is where it needs to be. But I just kind of want to highlight some of the things based upon what you were saying. Your process and what you were describing is like you first went because you were experiencing certain things. You went for a checkup, whatever it was, and even the doctors didn't put two and two together.
Nobody put it together. And I kept like asking, I'm like,
Because you knew.
you sure?
You knew.
I secretly knew. You're right.
Well, that's what it is, right? And Flo, I'm wondering if you were even aware that she was struggling.
Me and Flo didn't know each other.
So we didn't really know each other,
Oh,
but
okay.
I guess like I you did look great.
Thanks.
And that's like something that you said that was interesting and I want to highlight is like it wasn't worth it for you to like not listen. So I feel like the fact that you were able to look inside yourself and say, okay, like I have to do something that's going to make me very upset, uncomfortable, but you have two BH family and like it wasn't worth it for you not to do it. So you were being selfless in your health. It's like,
The literal hardest thing I ever did in my entire life. I'm not gonna lie, because I'm like, I'm looking at life very bleak. I'm like, either I stay skinny and look what I want to look like and do what I want to do, all of these unhealthy eating and exercising habits, and I live, but God knows how long. Or I get myself together, do what they're telling me, and try to get my like this always ruled my life. Food always ruled my life. Exercise, like all of these intrusive thoughts, these were always a struggle for me. So it's like on one hand, do I let it win? And I look skinny and I don't know. Or do I finally like try to overcome it? Which, like, obviously, the thought of having to gain 20 pounds or whatever they were telling me and nutritionally, whatever, was hell, but it was like maybe there's finally a light at the end of the tunnel to this. Like maybe I'm gonna figure out how to be a human being and not have food rule my life. Like people are having a conversation with me and I'm thinking about what am I eating for lunch? What am I eating for dinner? When am I gonna work out? Like I wasn't able to be present.
could you expand on like eating disorders and how it's addicting and the spiral and everything?
Right, right. So I mean, yes, there's definitely Diane, you can see there's a testament to how much strength she actually has. And but I want to sort of clarify because it's important because I think people think with eating disorders, it's something that you can sort of volunteer for or ask for, that like you can look to sort of develop an eating disorder, but it doesn't really work that way necessarily, right? Nobody asks for an eating disorder. Nobody wants an eating disorder. And yes, there's certain personality traits that might lend itself towards people being more vulnerable to developing an eating disorder and certain behaviors and whatnot. But ultimately, it's you can have four girls go on the same exact diet. They could weigh exactly the same and lose the same exact amount of weight, and yet only one of them develops an eating disorder and the other three don't. How come, right? There's a difference, right? There's people who are more predisposed to having them and whatnot. But this sort of the pressure that people feel generally that we place this ideal and this thinness ideal that thin is what we need to be the most attractive, the most acceptable, the most even morally good person, right? Like there's this sense of like if you're thin you're good, but what does one have anything to do with the other? And yet those things are always kind of combined. So and so we try to reach for these ideals of like, I need to look a certain way, and we focus all of our attention on it and this obsessionality around it, right? This sense of like, it's all consuming. Our minds are thinking about this constantly. And now I have to eat a certain way. Now, okay, now I eat, I restrict a certain way, but then I feel bad about myself anytime I want to eat again. But it's totally normal for us to feel hunger and to want food, right? It's our fuel source. Hashem made us that way. Like no, there's no exceptions to the rule. We all need to eat. We don't survive. We cannot survive on air. We need food. So
Why? This just doesn't work.
and yet there's a tremendous amount of guilt and shame people feel about eating. Like why should I eat this? Why should I allow myself to have indulge in such a whatever it might be, right? It's just but we're just eating. There's nothing wrong with eating. Eating is not the problem, right? So this restrictive behavior sort of restrictive. It's not just restrictive to people who can, binge too, but it sort of leads to then I feel good about myself, but it's only temporarily until that hunger comes again. But you know that you need to eat again, and then feeling like, oh no, but I shouldn't allow myself to indulge again in the food. And it's this guilt and this cycle over and over and over again that you think, okay, like if I lose some weight, that this will make my life grand and I will be the happiest person on the planet. But ultimately, we're chasing something that doesn't really exist.
Think it's very important how you're saying that because it's like you always think there's a number to it. I just need a few pounds
Yeah.
and then a few pounds. And then you're like, oh no, like needs, I just did that. Great, sick. I could go for more. And I think also what you were saying morally, it's like, I cannot be the only person who thinks this. So I'm going to be the one to share it to the internet airwaves. You're welcome, sickies. But like, I got a stomach virus and it was the best day of my life. Like, I was like, thank you. I got a stomach virus. I wasn't eating. I was vomiting. I'm like, this is great. Now I lose, yeah, quick diet, 4 or 5 pounds, and my stomach shrinks. And like morally, I'm just like that is not that is not normal. But then also there's like times where you think you're better than somebody else who can't resist it. Like you're like, ooh, I would never eat that. You could eat it. I would never eat that. And I'm like, am I suddenly the person that's like on the other side of this? It becomes moral.
To that topic, like I have a friend who always tells me, Flo, you're so normal when it comes to eating.
You are.
And like, because we all had that phase, like in high school, when you'd have the peanut butter and the apple, you would work out, do Soul Cycle, do 2 workouts in a row. And I saw myself getting into this habit. Okay, I have to work out for 2 hours. Okay, I have to have the salad with the tuna on. Like, I was looking at pictures of myself recently and I was so puffy. You hold on to so much stress. You were double, yeah, you're doing Soul Cycle, leaving lunch in the city to do Soul Cycle, waking up before school to work out. And then, like, I guess once I started dating Sam and he was eating these things, and I was like, okay, I'll just eat it. I survived. And now, when he makes pasta for dinner, I don't make a separate chickpea pasta for myself. I have the regular pasta and I feel good, and I don't snack on candy all night, which I used to do. So I guess it's just about like letting go a little bit. No?
Well, I mean, that's what it is. You're saying, well, I'm allowing myself. Well, really, you're just listening to your body and doing what your body is asking for, right? When we try to fight against what our body's asking for, that's when we're getting into trouble, right?
Yes.
Trying to maintain these sort of strict rules about the way you eat, the way that you exercise. And the exercising is a way to compensate for whatever you might be eating, but it kind of keeps us in this obsessive sort of place, which just reinforces this cycle over and over and over again. So you get a little boost, right, from exercise. And you're like, now I feel
Yes.
great.
It's
And so
endorphins that
yes,
keep you going when you have literally zero left in the tank. It's crazy.
which is really quite scary, but also the way that our bodies work when we restrict, it's going to find a way to kind of conserve its energy to stay alive ultimately, right? And so when we are restricting the um
That's why the food noise gets louder.
exactly,
Workout
exactly.
noise.
Like now I don't even I mean I think about food because I'm pregnant now, so it's like a different situation. It's more about like what is going to make me feel well or not well, but in terms of actual like caring about and planning my meals, I don't care. I don't have those thoughts and my brain has so much more space to do
Yeah.
human tasks
Right.
than it was when I was planning and planning and planning and thinking and thinking and I was making separate dinners, which is also exhausting.
Hmm.
And then if you their dinner also, I don't know if you make separate dinners.
For sure. Oh, I have a little bite of his pasta, my crappy pasta. You're swallowing it and you're like, this is horrible. I wish I was having. And then you're not satisfied. And then you're just like, let me have something else, some dumb diet chocolate that tastes awful. I think the point of this whole situation is that there's a lot of people stuck in this thought. And if you're not, like, really kudos to you because it's very hard and it's something that you deal with on a daily basis. Because let's say, like, we're going back to addiction. If you're an alcoholic, very simple. Cut your alcohol out of your life. If you are a drug addict, cut drugs out of your life. Tell me that you can cut eating out of your life. It's not possible. So you have to like this was something I really worked on myself was like every meal was another trigger. Okay, I got through breakfast. I made it out alive. Now I got to hit lunch again. So it's like you can't eliminate it. So you have to face it head on. So now, Sharon, please give us some insight and some tips or something helpful to anybody who feels like they're stuck in this place of like knowing what they're doing is not sustainable, but not feeling like there is a way out.
Mhm.
Not wanting a way out either.
Yeah, not wanting to go out because it's like, who wants to be the one to have to admit to get fat? Like, I only had to go through my whole eating disorder recovery and even tell people I had an eating disorder or even tell myself I had an eating disorder because I had a health issue that was forcing the issue.
There's a lot of internal struggle before it becomes obvious to anybody else that there might be an issue, right? Even towards yourself, we kind of normalize like the obsessionality around food, all these insecurities about our bodies and our appearance and whatnot. We normalize it because we're hearing it all the time, and so we think because it's talk, everyone says that this is what we're supposed to look like, and because I don't look that way, then it makes sense why I should feel uncomfortable. But the reality of it is what we're hearing over and over is an unrealistic ideal that just simply doesn't exist. Even people who are very, very thin and have made people make comments about them being so thin, even those people are unhappy and saying like, "Oh, I hate my body. Why does it have to look this way? Why can't I have a little bit more of this or a little bit of that?" Because so we realize it's not so much about what the body looks like that really is important here, and that the struggle, the real struggle on the inside, and I see a lot of adolescents and they come with their parents and I'll ask the parents, they're like, I don't know, she just started, dieting recently and all of a sudden, she seems to be having a hard time with food. And so when you start asking questions and you realize like there's been stuff that's been happening for a while before we even got to this point, right? There's been this started changing and they've been thinking about this and then they started exercising and it started off with just a walk a little bit here and there. And now it's walking after every single meal and then doing weights in between for half an hour and it has each 4 times a day or whatever it might be. And so now you realize like we didn't go from 0 to 60 in 1 second. There's actually a lot of things that happen along the way and this internal suffering that goes on that people kind of, oh, like it's just a means to an end. Like I'm supposed to be suffering in order to achieve this. Things sort of happen before it becomes an issue where you can see it on the outside, where you might like, for example, what you were sharing, Diane, about someone losing their period, right? Where it impacts their heart, for example. All of these things are relation to not having enough nutrition. It's our fuel source. We need it to survive. So if we don't have enough nutrition to keep everything functioning the way that it's supposed to be functioning. And really, the majority of our calories are being burned to regulate our temperature. Our temperature is the most important thing, our bodily temperature. So oftentimes people with eating disorders, they'll say they complain feeling cold very often, right? Even when it's warm out, they're feeling cold. They need extra layers or hiding under all these layers. And when
Yeah.
in extreme cases, I don't know if you've heard of this, people start to grow fuzz on their body. It's called lanugo. It's like these baby hairs
No.
so that's for people who've been, restricting for a long time who are severely malnourished. What is the body doing? It's saying, well, you know what? I'm too cold and I'm afraid that I won't be able to function properly. So I'm going to grow these little hairs to kind of insulate you because you're missing the fat layer required to maintain your
That's
temperature.
crazy. Yeah.
So you'll see if somebody who's been severely malnourished, you'll see the fuzz on their face, along their arms, like just really along like little baby hairs that you wouldn't see on somebody who's eating properly. So okay, so now we're talking about the temperature piece and that being impacted, and then it affects our hormones, right? Our brain is not going to, tell your body like, okay, let's release these hormones so that she can become pregnant for fertility, because that's just a bonus. So a lot of times, especially even with teenagers, for example, they're like, who cares? I don't want my period. But it's not just about fertility because the hormones are also impacting our bone strength. And for children and teens, where our bodies are still developing. So for girls, your bones get as strong as they're going to get until the age of 18. And for boys, it's until I think the age of 21. So whatever hormones you're producing, however strong your bones are going to be, is only happening until the age of 18 for girls. And that's going to carry you for the rest of your life. So if that's interrupted by restrictive eating behaviors and malnourishment, you're putting your body at risk, your bones at risk. They may not be as strong as they could have possibly been to carry you through the rest of your life.
You don't have your period for a long time. Your body's not making those hormones and it thinks you don't need them anymore. And
Mhm.
it then you're not making them. You're aging yourself. You're aging your reproductive system. So
Mhm.
I may have had this issue underlying for 4 years or maybe less. I don't know when it happened, but it definitely made things a lot harder going forward with having and deciding to have more kids. It does take a toll on the body.
Right. And then also, like, of course, on your heart as well. Like your heart is a muscle, just like your other muscles. And if you don't have the proper nutrition to make it work properly, it's not going to work properly. It needs to slow down. And so that's why you'll get these low heart rates, the arrhythmias, right? And also, the number one leading cause of death for people in eating disorders is not the starvation piece per se, it's cardiac arrest that oftentimes the heart just fails because it's a muscle, it needs nutrition in order to function properly. And without it, you really put yourself at risk.
I think the reason that I didn't talk about why my heart rate was affected by me not eating was because I didn't have enough energy, available energy in my body to use. So all my other systems had to shut down because they start to take priority.
Looking at you, Diane, and anyone else, like, I feel so bad to even say, but these girls in high school, even that are now going through this, like, it's a silent disease. Like, you don't know someone's going through it. So, Sharon, when you're working with these girls or even older people, what are some things that you talk to them about, maybe to just like help them get their minds off of food and working out and like getting out of this cycle?
So yeah, that's an important point. We want to ultimately what we try to achieve in therapy is to shift the focus from self-objectification, seeing yourself as just an object, right? Seeing being on the outside of your body and just thinking about what you look like all the time and how you appear to other people, as opposed to kind of connecting with how you're feeling and what you're thinking on the inside, right? We want to kind of reconnect yourself, reconnect yourself with yourself, right? That's what we're trying to accomplish. So, we want to get to a place of like self-compassion and focus on what your body is doing, how it's functioning as opposed to what it appears like, right? Go for a
Sharon,
gentle
back it up
walk.
now. I'm
Mhm.
working with you a year and a half, and it's still something that I'm working on every single day because it's not easy. So, could we like sit there and identify that for a second and talk about it? Like, if you're coming from a place of judging yourself by every morsel of food, missed workout, calorie, all of these things, because you're judging yourself based on what you look like and what you weigh and all of these things, being nice to yourself is not something that is happening very easily, obviously.
Of course. So why don't, if you feel comfortable sharing, what's that journey been like for you? Have there been moments where you found that you've been kinder towards yourself, more forgiving towards yourself in moments of struggle, in moments of hardship?
I think I really still struggle with it a lot. But
Hmm.
yes, at the end of the day, from where I was till now, there definitely has been a shift where I noticed that like life doesn't have to be about how much I struggle. Like I used to make my every day as mentally like and physically draining as possible, walk everywhere I had to go and like, or it's not enough, keep going, keep doing, keep da da da. So it was like now I kind of am like this, I acknowledged that unfortunately, or whatever. Not unfortunately, it is what it is. I was born with the body I was born with, and I can't make it something it's not. And I kind of at some point have to like go into acceptance with it and say, like, what else do I have to offer? And my grandma was talking to us. If you heard our other podcast, you heard, but she's like, what is wrong with this generation? Like, you guys don't, nobody's a supermodel. Who here is a supermodel?
Hmm.
That's not our job. And for some reason, that is what I believe to be my job in my sickest of times, where it was like I need to be the prettiest, most magnificent for myself, for everybody I saw in the best dress clothing and put together, and clothing only looks good on skinny people. So, I mean, those were the things I was telling myself. Obviously, they don't have to be true, and there's a
Where
lot of
did you
people
learn
that make
that?
it.
Where did you learn that? Where does that come from?
I think it's a societal thing. You're not seeing a lot of people who look like you because everybody's fighting to be the thinnest. So even if you're normal, that's not even thin anymore. Like that's big.
You have to be sick
So
to eat
I
it.
mean, these are all things that are huge problems, right? Like even there, I know there's stores. I've recently like learned about stores here in the States, but then I've also heard about it being in on the other side of the world where like it's just a one size.
Sharon, you never went to Brandy Melville?
Well, here we go. So there's like a one size sort of fits
The
all.
day I fit into Brandy Melville pants, if I tell you I was in this dressing room by myself, the pants went up. This was in the sick days. I think the person outside that does like the how many things do you have to go in your dressing room heard me wailing. I was so happy.
So
So
imagine the
crazy.
experience for the rest of the 99% of the population that will not fit into any of that clothing.
It's hard.
Well, everybody in our population is fitting into it.
But at what cost, right? I
At
mean,
what
that's the
cost?
thing. I think, and that's another huge misconception about eating disorders too. It's like you have to look a certain way to have an
Exactly.
eating disorder. But more often than not, you don't know. There's no way for you to really tell necessarily if somebody has an eating disorder or not. Yes, some people who've been restricting for a very long period of time might look a certain way. Yes, but there are plenty of people who have eating disorders that you would never know. You would never know just by looking at them.
That was
And
me.
so, and then also that sort of feeds into the disordered sort of way of thinking about this. Well, obviously I'm not doing even the disordered eating well enough because I don't look the part, quote
Exactly.
unquote,
Also,
right?
then you're like, everyone's doing this. Everyone's working out for 3 hours, wearing these sauna suits, wearing the weighted vests on the Ocean Parkway, and it's like you want to sort of do it because like why not? But then you
Mhm.
realize to what cost. It's really crazy.
Right.
Like you said, also some people could do this and it works for them. And then you're the person it doesn't work for. And then it's again, it's why me? Like why?
We don't actually know. When you say it works for them, we don't really know if it works for them. People oftentimes will, and I'm telling you this coming from the other end, right? So I'm meeting with people who have the eating disorders who they're now getting help, but will share having these conversations in which they minimize their experience. Everything is fine. They glorify it in a way that's like, this is great. I'm losing weight. We're getting compliments from other people, right? But
Yeah,
even
I'm
like,
eating healthy.
right,
And
that's what
also,
it is.
is it an eating disorder if every single person around you is partaking in the same behaviors? Like I was very weary of that title. Like, oh, hi, I'm Diane. I have eating disorder. No, I don't. I just do what the rest of you do. And for some reason, it attacked me in a different way.
No, but okay,
Mhm.
like let's get deep for a minute. So, like eating disorders has to do also with your past a little bit, right? Like you
In terms of what?
we like it doesn't just come from yes, it could come from societal pressure, but then there's another end that's like let's say growing up certain things happen to you. Like what's that about?
Trauma. You mean trauma?
Trauma, yeah,
Yeah,
trauma a
and
little
there's
bit.
also genetic predisposition for it, right? Like, it's also, often eating disorders is a way of sort of maintaining a sense of control, right? When things are kind of feeling out of control, this is a way to make us feel calmer, more regulated, but it really doesn't because it's the same thing with like a drug, right? We want all of our worries and bad feelings to kind of go away. So we go and get high. And yes, it feels great while we're high, but then what happens when the high wears off? And the reality is life is continuing to be the way that it was prior to getting high, right? It reinforces it because then we say, well, I want to achieve that again and again and again and again because I want all these other bad things to sort of disappear. And so a lot of the eating disorders and body image stuff, it's trauma could be very much trauma related. There's a lot of shame around it. Like I'm not good enough. My body isn't good enough. Like just ultimately like fearing being rejected, abandoned, just a sense of like not being good enough. And I think a lot of people do feel that way. Well, I need to look a certain way in order to be good enough. And I know, especially we're thinking about relationships too, about dating and marriage and, going from especially like early marriage and whatnot. It's a tremendous amount of pressure when we haven't developed enough to kind of create an identity for ourselves outside of what our appearance is and based upon what other people are saying I'm supposed to look like, I'm supposed to be like and whatnot, is instead of finding it out for ourselves, what am I, what it makes me happy, what drives me, what feels good to me, and that isn't about just my appearance because our the reality of it is our appearance is changing. It changes every minute of every single day and will continue to change. What we look like at age of 1 is different than what we look like 10, at 15, 25, 55. It's going to keep changing, right? So if we're constantly just trying to achieve something in that it's like you're chasing something that's completely
Not
impossible
there.
and it
Also,
comes,
like, I feel like guys, as shallow as they are, like when you're dating and they want the hottest girl and this and that,
yeah.
like once you get married or like even dating and like you birth their children and stuff, like they're not, I think they're just happy if you're happy.
Our appearance is it can only sort of last for so long in terms of connection, right? Because beyond because
Yeah, you're gonna marry the prettiest girl because she's the prettiest girl, and then eventually
And then what?
just get older, or and then what? And you're stuck with her and you're coming home every day and like where are the conversations, or you know,
And where's the real connection, right? Where's
yeah,
the real connection? And connection is not happening based upon what a
how
person
pretty you
looks
are.
like.
Yeah.
It might that might be the first thing for like a second or a few seconds, but then afterwards that kind of wears off relatively quickly, and then we're left with what? So if we're so focused, and that also impacts, dating, thinking about who we might talk to or who we might, be attracted to. If we say like, that person could never be attracted to me, we might, be too insecure to go and talk to somebody who might be a
Totally.
match for us, right? And who might ultimately be, we can feel very connected to. If we're so focused on what we look like, it interferes with us being connected with the things that are really important.
Obviously, your husband or your whoever you're with or whatever it is, they want you to look good because they want you to take care of yourself. But I don't think they want it to be at to the point where you're no longer fun anymore or like present going to dinner, or I don't want to go out anywhere. Literally wouldn't go out anywhere. I'm like, I don't want to go for lunch. I'll make my lunch at home where I can measure it and be in my safe space. I don't need to go for a social lunch with just you,
Mhm.
or let me save that for something else.
Again, eating disorders don't only affect females, they also affect males. I've even seen young boys who have had eating disorders, right? So I'd be, men have their own insecurities, and yes, a lot of them do have insecurities about their own bodies, about them changing and whatnot. And we have to kind of be kind and sort of compassion to their experience as well. But ultimately, what you're saying, and I think that's the biggest point about eating disorder, what differentiates an eating disorder from not an eating disorder is that it interferes with our lives,
Mhm.
right? It gets in the way of things. If you find yourself sort of isolating, that the obsessionality is making you like not being able to focus and not being able to do the things that you need to be doing on a daily basis, you really see it interfering with your daily life, then we know that it's a problem, that it's most likely going to be a problem. Because of course, we might go on vacation, we might eat a lot during that week because, and so what? We come back home and we go back to our normal way of eating and everything is fine. But if it continues, right? If it continues and now it interferes and now we don't want to go out as much, or we don't want to get dressed to go to this party because we're afraid of what people are going to say or think of us when we're out and about, and now we're isolating and all that, that's a problem. That's a problem. And that really can just keep people even feeling more ashamed and less likely to kind of reach out or to share because of this isolation.
I think 100% I agree with you. And I even want to go back to what you're saying, what you said before, because I think it was a very important point. It's something you're never going to win at. And it took me a very long time to realize that along this journey of working with you, Sharon, and just like being forced to realize that it's a part of like a perfectionist kind of attitude, but you just always want to win. You always want to be like the best you could be, the best. Like there is no winning in this category. And I had to take myself out of the game. I had to say, I am not partaking in this race because there's no end. I promise you, you can find the prettiest person and the skinniest person that you think has it all together, and it doesn't affect them like it affects you because they're this and they're that. And it's still affecting them too. So if it's affecting them at that level,
Mhm.
I mean, like, what is it? Like, that's when it comes back to what is it worth? Like, I am not a supermodel. I was not born 5'9", 6 foot, doodity, Victoria's Secret. There's a reason why there's, 30 girls in the show. I don't
And
like,
if
and
you
I
speak to
had to
those,
put that
but
aside for
speak,
myself.
but also speak to those supermodels, and you'll see that none of them are, well, I can't speak for all of them, but you find that the supermodels are also suffering, right? The extremes that they have to go to maintain this specific aesthetic, right? It's so detrimental to their mental health, to their emotional health, and especially with restrictive eating, but restrictive eating, it changes the brain chemistry, right? It reduces our good neurotransmitters, our serotonin in our brain, and that's what causes the anxiety and the depression. So we think, oh no, if we just have to look a certain way, and then that all these things will go away. No, if we continue to fight for that or to reach that quote unquote ideal, we're just going to make the suffering even worse.
It's like you're digging a hole. First it starts cute. Okay, I'm gonna eat a little bit less. I'm gonna work out. Okay, then I'm not gonna go for lunch. Nah, it's fine. I'll eat home. I'll meet you guys later.
Right.
Yeah, no dressing. And then you're digging the hole. And then one day you just so deep in, it's like no one can find you. It's so depressing. It's sad.
It's very depressing.
So a lot of people listening to our podcast are moms, new moms. Um, What's like some things that we could do in our household on a daily since our culture is so surrounded by food? We have the holidays, we do breakfast, lunch, dinner. We're always like feeding.
Eating.
Yeah, like, oh, you have to finish your plate. Oh, try the lahmacun, try the mezza. Oh, you ate too little, you ate too much. Like what are some, I guess, positive and healthy
Yeah.
habits you have?
So generally about that, like I would say, we do want to kind of reconnect, again, reconnect with our bodies and the way things feel. This sort of intuitive eating movement. We want to just our bodies knows what they need. They do. And so if we just listen, we'll be able to give it exactly what it needs. It's not overstuffing or restricting, right? Like giving itself exactly what it needs. And especially if you're talking about in the context of families around children, we want to model that behavior. We want to speak to these things out loud, right? Like we want because they hear it. Kids are always listening. Even when we think that they're not listening, they're always listening. So, be able to talk about our bodies for what it is that they're doing, right? Like my body feels so strong today, or that run felt good because now I feel like energized and whatnot. And now, oh, I really like the way this tastes. It feels so good in my mouth, or whatever it might be. Like it's so interesting. It's a
Refreshing.
little
Yeah.
salty. Talk about food in this enjoyable, experience because that's really what it is, right? Ultimately, without the food noise, when we don't have food noise being a problem, eating is wonderful. It's
So
nice, it's enjoyable, it brings connection, brings people together. We often eat socially. It's a way of people to connect through food. It's a wonderful experience, right? So we want to, model that for our children too. Talk about, like prioritize the way that we eat and again, the trying piece that speaks to the huge rise in RFID. I don't know if you've heard of this eating disorder. It's called avoidant restrictive food intake disorder.
What is
Um,
that?
it's kids.
so it's not, well, it happens in adults too, but what people sort of see it as picky eating. Okay. So like, but we have to understand that quote unquote picky eating, like if your kid is only eating X and X and now it's impacting their development, they're not growing appropriately, they're not gaining enough nutrition, they're nervous about going to certain parties because they're not going to have anything to eat there because they don't like X, Y, and Z or whatnot. It creates a lot of problems, right? And it really is an issue. So we want to make food an enjoyable experience, have different, a lot of different options, a lot of variety in food, lots of
Or
different
like a
colors.
no pressure experience to Flo's point where it's like about
Right.
kids eating like it's not like it doesn't have to be the biggest deal. Like when you go for a holiday, eat what you want, no matter what that is, but they're taking away the pressure off of it. Did I eat carb, protein, vegetable? Did I da 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 da? Just like eat what you want. Like now I approach meals so differently because I don't have this like I have to or I don't have to. I don't have to finish
Or,
my plate. I have to finish my plate.
or labeling food as either good
Yeah,
or
good,
bad,
bad, whatever.
right?
It just
It's
is and move on. And I think that was something that helped me improve my relationship to food because I was always still trying to control quantity,
right.
category, and even with my kids. Okay, you here and you don't want it, then you don't want it. That's it. Like
Mhm.
I don't want to have a whole fight about it because then it creates that whole back and forth. Why do I need to eat? It's healthy. What's healthy? You want to eat it, it'll make you strong. You don't want to eat it, your belly's full. Bye.
Yeah. Absolutely. And just speaking about it out loud, right? Like they hear it. So you can say like, "Oh, I tried something new today and that was really exciting. Like it was this, it was crunchy, it was sweet, whatever it might be. It doesn't matter. Oh, I learned about this new food. Maybe we can try it and explore it together." I think make food an enjoyable, pleasurable experience. It's our energy source. Again, it fuels us, right? And to say that we shouldn't want it, we shouldn't desire it, we shouldn't have it makes no sense. It really doesn't. And yet so many people have that experience and think that way, right? And so it's almost like saying, well, a plant is being super greedy for wanting water. Like, should we not water the plant? The plant shouldn't drink any water. We should just let it shrivel away and die. No, you obviously it's going to desire water, just like we desire food and water. We need it. We need it to survive. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not bad or good. It just is. And that's the judgment piece in terms of this whole experience. When I talk about self-compassion, it's like we have to suspend the judgment, work on it. It's a process. It's not simple at all. It's a skill that we all need to learn how to develop, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of practice, especially, but really work towards, you know, putting our judgment aside and just giving ourselves sort of freedom to experience whatever it is that we're experiencing, to feel what it is that we feel, to think what it is that we think without it being good or bad, it just being, right?
Like no labeling. I like
Correct.
that. It's
Yeah.
hard.
It's so hard.
It's
And I
hard.
feel like that's also something that I wanted to achieve by having you on is like, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening to this podcast, this is therapy. This is what therapy is. It is not, we're still stigmatizing. We still have these things going on. But like, so yes, I meet with Sharon an hour a week and I just talk about like these kinds of thoughts that I'm having and ways to improve on them. Like, that is really all it is. But it's by doing that for a year, I've been improving very slowly on all of the little things that kept me in that problem. So
Mhm.
it's whether it's self acceptance or if it's saying, you know, I don't deserve to eat this, or why do I feel like I need to be socially accepted? Like, that's not something that's like, oh, only crazy, weird people need to talk about that. No, it's not. It's something everybody goes through in their brain. So I feel like this was such a good way to just even like shed light on how helpful it is if you're a person that, even if you don't want to go to the eating person and fix your nutrition, you're not there yet, but like how important it is to have these conversations if you're a person who's finding that they're struggling with this topic. Because I just feel like even this kind of conversation, it's turning on light bulbs, it's making you think, and it okay, so you start to like get to the root cause of what happens if I eat the slice of cake? Okay, then what? Then I'm going to be fat. Then what? And like going through that then what process that we a lot of times do when we work together, Sharon, it like has helped me realize like you think in your brain it's much scarier. I'm like, then what? Then this is going to happen. Then I'm going to be this. Then I'm going to be that. And you're like, take a step back and like listen to what's actually happening.
Right.
So I feel like it's super, super helpful to have these kind of conversations and just be honest with yourself and recognize that like there's nothing wrong with you. We all have some sort of eating disorder in our brains, unfortunately, from society, and we've learned throughout the years, you know, but it really is so much more freeing when you find out the reason that you're harping on all of this, if you're a person who does.
Mhm. That's ultimately why. I think the question is why. Where did I learn this from? Why is this so important to me, right? And is thinking about this, worrying about this, working towards this, does this feel good or does it not? Right? Because at the end of the day, when we are in line with our values, what's truly important to us, what really makes us feel good, and we work towards those things, we continue to feel good.
For sure. And I think like what you were saying, taking a step back and saying, what's the cost of this? Why am I doing this? Saying, okay, intrusive thoughts, not today. I'll see you later. I have more important things to do. And
Exactly.
just talking with someone, talking with yourself,
Hmm.
and like just really finding your internal happiness that's not exterior is a big one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I think really to end things off, if you would ask me what working on this throughout the year or year and a half has brought, I'm not going to tell you that being thin or being skinny or those things don't cross my mind anymore because I'm a human and they do.
Mhm.
But again, at what cost? And also, I started to take that out of the equation. Like, was that all I wanted to have on my value list? No. And I found room in my life for new things. And I thank God found, you know, an amazing business and partner and all these things that bring out so much joy in my life that I am not making the physical, like the physical doesn't have to be the most important thing for me. It was allowing, it was taking up so much brain time. Now I'm actually able to feel good in the things I enjoy and about being a mom and like my passions.
Right.
and have confidence from those things because I was looking at my body to give me this confidence. But again, I'm never winning this game. It's just there's no winning to it. So I never was having confidence because I was like, I'm not the skinniest one or the prettiest one or the da 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 da. Da. So I had to keep going and keep going. And when I get there, I'm going to be so confident. I'm going to walk into the room like you don't even know. You can't get there. And then it was just leaving me so empty. So I'm actually just so happy that I'm still growing. I'm still learning. There's definitely no end to this, Sharon. You're stuck with me for a while, but like it is super helpful because I've been able to find things that make me happy and give me and give to my life. And I stop killing and beating myself up over something that, again, they're like, you're going to keep going and you're going to keep going and you're keep going. And then, you know, you miss it.
Absolutely.
Like life passes. You
That's
spent
right. Right.
35 years and your health and all these things went out the window for what? You know, like what are we doing this for?
When you're missing the opportunities to actually build that confidence.
Is it worth? Is it worth missing out with my family for? You know, not being present for dinners? Is it worth my health? Is it worth future fertility? It's not.
Mhm.
You know, you have to really put these things. It's worth my marriage. I promise you it affects your marriage. If you think it doesn't, you're in denial. It is
Mhm.
not easy for somebody to live with somebody else who has all of this going on in the brain. So
Most
you're snappy or yeah, you have no
irritable. Yeah.
patience and
Hmm.
your whole day revolves around if you feel skinny that day. If your jeans that you like fit or not. If you're this or you're that. If you went on the scale, which is also a whole different topic, don't do that. But if you went on the scale and you saw a bad number, my day was ruined.
The number on the scale is just a number on the scale. It's whatever meaning we attribute to these digits that we see on a scale
Exactly.
that,
You don't have to give up. You don't have to
right.
say, ah, I'm
Yeah,
good.
don't like take care of yourself.
It's the reason why you're doing it, right? It's not necessarily what it is that you're doing, but why you're doing it. Is it, I'm doing it because I need to quell whatever anxiety I might be feeling if I don't do it, right?
Yeah, double workouts. Your body felt good after the first one. We're unsubscribing to killing yourself. Take
Right.
care of yourself the best you can. Nobody said go eat happy meals all day long. We're just saying that if you're already moving your body and you're already doing and you know you're eating, you know, well balanced, that doesn't mean only one group or only two groups, well balanced meals. Stop killing yourself because it's just not worth it, says the person who did all these things. And I'm telling you, it is not worth it. So if I'm happy to be the ambassador, no problem. If you have any questions, feel free to call me. This is still a hot topic, but it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. I promise you. It's not worth it.
Thank you, Diane, for sharing your story with everyone. Diane is Diane's personal life is on the podcast and out to the open. But everyone really loves it, and I think you're helping people. Yeah, everyone call Diane, blow her phone up.
I promise. Even if you just need somebody to be like, this is so annoying. Yeah, I know. Yes, I know. And I've been there. And get a Sharon, or you could even call Sharon. I give you permission because it really changed everything. I'm never going to say, don't eat a sweet potato or eat unhealthy. No, that's not what we're saying. Do what you want to do. But I'm just saying at the point, and you know who you are. If you're killing yourself, this is the sign to stop because you're not going to win. And I promise you, there's so many things that could happen that you're not going to want. You can't reverse. You cannot get your health back. You cannot get certain things back. Do what you can. And then that's it. Find the other things that make you awesome because there are. And it's very hard to find when food and being skinny feels like it's the most important. And I'm still working on that. But it actually makes you so much of a happier person. And that's what people want to be around. You could be very thin but very miserable, but or you could just be regular and you could be a vibe. In my personal
Said
opinion,
Diane.
people
Yeah.
have been noticing this new version of me because I just stopped like being so all about the wrong thing and I just owned it. Whatever I am, I own it. If it is what it is.
Do you have anything to add before we wrap up?
I think she said it beautifully. Again, it was like with all this, the obsessionality around this, it interferes with you being your true self. And when you are connected with your true self, your really, really true, calm, confident self, right? Then there's so much beauty in that. There's so much that attracts you to other people in that, right? Really just being connected with yourself. That's all it is. And you said that really beautifully, Dan. And I thank you for sharing your story. I know that it's not so easy, because again, there is a lot of shame and guilt around these kinds of things. And so it takes a lot of courage and bravery to be able to do that. So thank you for sharing. you can go to Embody, the letter M, body, BODY, recovery, recovery.com, embodyrecovery.com. You can contact me through there. Feel free to email me too. It's Dr. Dr. Sharon, Sharon, Levy, Levi, at gmail.com.
Thank you.
All right,
Sharon, you're the
guys.
best.
Thanks, Sharon.
And I'll see you for our weekly session tomorrow.